Hi, I'm Dr. Hale Pringle, and the first question for me every day is this a great day? And the answer is always, Hale, yes. I want to talk to you a little bit today about upgrading your mindset, your autopilot. I was asking myself for quite some time, why am I not more successful with online marketing? I have been successful in a number of places during my life, but not near as much as I want to with online marketing. And I continue to work and I continue to ask this question. And so today I had promised some people I was going to talk a little bit about my journey and what I decided and what I came up with. And so that's where this talk came from, upgrading your mindset, autopilot. So I'm going to start with my conclusion, just so you don't have to listen to the whole thing if you don't want to. One, I need a very clear vision of where I want to go, where I want to be, and I need to visualize that destination with strong emotion. And this is one that I missed over and over. Think of it as if you spent weeks climbing Mount Everest, sometimes months, and you got to the top. Would you look around and say, wow, this is kind of neat? Or would you be just kind of thunderstruck with awe, sense of achievement, pride, maybe a little bit of superiority, but just, wow, this is incredible. Can't believe we finally made it. This is the culmination of my mountain climbing experience. So, that's the strong emotion we're looking for. The second conclusion is just about half our behavior is a result of ingrained habits. And I need to change some of those habits. And I call these my autopilot, and I need to update my autopilot. So here's a short version of the journey on why I decided to look into mindset. I have spent some thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars over the last 6 or 7 years in training, workshops, webinars, courses, and as a result of all this, I finally decided I knew enough of the technical area. As a matter of fact, I've been asked to be the head coach of two different programs that I signed up for as a student. One on Amazon, a big program, and one on print on demand, selling t-shirts, mugs, and whatever. So I knew enough of the technical stuff. And I worked hard enough. Like in the print on demand, I've launched over 300 products and ads for a good bit of them. Uh, I have spent many days with 8 and 10 and 12-hour days for several years. So it wasn't a lack of effort. It wasn't a laissez-faire. It'll happen if I just wait for it. And the last was I tried enough different options. I've tried ebooks and blogging and monetizing websites, Etsy, Amazon, and most recently print on demand. I've been working on that for the last year and a half or so. So it's not like I bounced around. I did try a lot of other things temporarily, but it's been a while since I've been bouncing to the next bright, shiny thing. But still wasn't making what I wanted to be making. So, what was missing? Now, it could have been creativity, possibly, but I decided that probably the thing that was missing was mindset. I decided to take a deep dive into it. So the questions I was asking myself, exactly what is mindset, rather than the kind of shallow definition that I had. The second question is my current mindset good enough? And my third one was, well, if it's not good enough, how do I change it? So it didn't take me too long in my deep dive to realize that what I thought about the traditional, you need a good mindset in order to succeed, just wasn't enough. Matter of fact, I wasn't even asking the right questions. I have been through a slew of different trainings, usually with MLMs and MLMs that I didn't truly believe in. And they repeated the same material, have a good mindset, discover your why, build a dream board, repeat affirmations every day, visualize the things I wanted, drive that car that I really wanted to buy, believe in yourself, find something like college fund for the boys, and so on and so forth. Heard them lots and lots of times. So I tried them all, and they just didn't seem to make a much difference for me. But one of the sayings that I heard several times irritated me, and that's usually a sign of I need to look at it closer when something annoys me and won't go away. And the statement was, you are where you are because that's exactly where you want to be. And like most people, I resisted the heck out of that. No, I don't. This isn't where I wanted to be. And part of me still thought maybe it was true. So I wasn't sure why that niggled at me, but it did. Later, when I'm looking at this, and I thought, well, it's because my autopilot is defective. It's a whole lot easier to take and to see that it was true. And I'll talk about that autopilot in just a few minutes. So I started learning more and more about mindset. I read books, attended workshops, went to a hypnotherapist, a very good lady, bought courses, and a number of other things. And two main themes emerged that struck home with me. One, this is the woo-woo stuff. You can influence your future directly with your thoughts. And I originally thought, yeah, right, this is definitely out there. The more I got into it, the more I decided that there was something there. I'm not totally positive what I believe yet, but I do believe there is something there, and I tend to go with the quantum field theories that are becoming more and more understood, that says we have been looking at time and space wrong forever, that there are things that scientists can't explain with our current theories, but quantum field and quantum theories do explain. Now, there are several versions of this. The law of attraction, Esther Hicks and Abraham give you a spiritual version that says there's kind of a prime you, an infinite you that's beyond time and space. And every now and then it decides to create a body so it can grow and learn. And you can connect with this other part of you, the rest of you. And as you make this connection, you can attract things, make the universe bring things into your life because you and your other part have decided that this is what needs to happen. And that's the law of attraction in a very crude and probably inaccurate nutshell. The science-based versions, the quantum field, says that there's really only now, and there's an infinite number of alternate realities. Some of them are our past, some of them are our future. There's other versions of me, many, many, many of these, and some are homeless, some of them are billionaires, and some of them are living exactly the kind of life that I might imagine that I want to live. And if I really can connect with that future me, they can give me insights into what I need to do in order to get there. And it's not a future in a way that we normally think of. It's an alternate reality that is now. There is nothing else but now. More complicated than I can go into here, more complicated than I even really understand, but there's a whole bunch of science behind it. There is also a traditional view, which I had read, and I believe has a piece of this. It's also true, and it may not account for all of it, but that is, once you sensitize your mind to something, it sees opportunities that were always there, but you never saw before. You ignored them. And that, for example, you buy a new white Camry, and all of a sudden, it seems like every third car on the road is a white Camry. Or somebody buys a motor scooter and suddenly all they do is see motor scooters. Every place they look, there's another motor scooter. So that's kind of the traditional, that you can see these opportunities that you would have ignored before. The second is we do live at least half of our life on autopilot. Dr. Hugh Bryan indicates that research shows that 45% of the actions we take every day are done by just habit. You get up in the morning, you go into the bathroom. The order in which you do things, the way you brush your teeth, where your toothbrush, where you like to have it, how you take your shower, is all done totally by habit. You don't hardly even think about it. It just happens. You go to get dressed, you always put your trousers on with the same leg first. You always put your shoes on the same way. All of this is done strictly by habit. One of the examples that people use a lot, because we all have experienced it, is driving a car. When we learned to drive a car, it was very intensely something we concentrated our conscious mind on. And after driving for a while, and for some of us for years, it's not uncommon to arrive at a destination and say, I don't even remember how I got here, because it was totally on automatic. Particularly when you go to the same destination over and over, like going to work. You can drive it. Yes, you're watching for other cars, you're watching for dangers, you're watching for stoplights, but it's all at almost a subconscious level where that habit is ingrained and you're just running on autopilot. So, I do believe my thoughts can change my future. But I'm only really going to talk here about changing the habits, because I think we can help get to our future by taking some conscious effort to get rid of some of the bad habits. So let me talk for just a minute about my experience with changing habits. I got into this because I wanted to look at my businesses. But once I started it, I decided to take a side trip. I've been putting off working on my weight because I am overweight. And I've been putting it off for decades, literally, and decided it was time to spend at least a month or two working on this before I went back to working on my business, because I had done for years. As soon as I get my business really running well, then I'll take some time and work on my weight. And decided it was time to change that priority and put my health first. It was an interesting trip. When I finally read the book by Dr. Joe Dispenza called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, he had a technique that has been working for me, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. And I describe it a little later in this, but his system is you list the bad habits, the thoughts that you have, the things that you really go looking for, the things that when you have those thoughts and act and you feel a little guilty about it, you know you did something you shouldn't have done, but you're doing it anyway. I ended up with over 30 of the eating thoughts. They're, as I said at the bottom of this little slide, you can see them at thejourneytothin.com. I'm not trying to sell anything there yet, but the list is there. Some of them were almost anything that had to do with food that started with the sentence, nobody will know if I take 3 cookies instead of 1, or take any cookies at all, because they're sitting there in the counter in a tin. Nobody will know if I stop and have an ice cream. Nobody will know on this long trip I'm taking that I feel like I need several candy bars and some other stuff to keep my energy up. And so nobody will know if I do that. And nobody will know if I have the potato chips and finish the bag. And nobody will know that I finished the bag if I put it down in the trash where nobody can see it. A whole bunch of those. And then there were, I'm a big guy, I need more food than most people. And there's the Clean Plate Club that I was taught as a child. These thoughts ended up I would eat food that I really didn't intend to eat, but they had become habits, and those were, now I could identify them. And in Dr. Joe's system, you identify them, and you do this in meditation. You think about each of them, and then you put yourself into a situation where that thought would happen, and you tell yourself change, so that you're consciously beginning to see these thoughts when they sneak up on you. And then outside of the meditation, when in real life you see these thoughts happen, you say change and don't give in to the thoughts, and the habits begin to break. And he says a lot, cells that fire together wire together, which means there are pathways in the mind that get used over and over and over again to where they become automatic. There were also eating triggers for me. One of the most fascinating ones was I discovered that the signal for my hand to cut off the next bite of food with a fork, or if it was finger food, pick it up, was when my mouth was halfway empty. So I would take a bite, chew it, swallow part of it, and the next bite would be on its way to the mouth. So that I ate too fast, and people told me for years, you eat too fast. And it was very fascinating to watch myself, like with a thing of popcorn. The hand would go chunk, 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 and I could watch it. My head wasn't involved in it at all. My hand was just doing it. So there were a number of these triggers that I discovered that were going on, and I am now observing those and working to stop them. There were also exercise thoughts. The big one for me was, it's boring. But there was also, it'll hurt, and it can only exercise a little bit, so it won't really do me much good. So there are a number of these thoughts. And as I worked to say, okay, I want to change these, I see them coming and don't give in to them, and they begin to extinguish. I mean, I've lost over 20 pounds in the last month, and I'm not dieting. I'm just seeing these thoughts and saying, no, I'm not going to do that. Another one that was fascinating to me was I would take some cookies, and I would take them in and sit down by my computer and then look around to eat the cookies, and they were gone. That I had automatically, didn't hardly even remember. I certainly didn't enjoy them, taste them. So now I still have a cookie some days, but I nibble on it and savor it. One cookie or a half a cookie, and I'm enjoying it rather than just putting it in my mouth and it's gone. So that's my experience with changing habits, and the technique works, and I'm looking forward to applying that same technique to my business. So we need to change. There needs to be permanent change, and that's partly what I was excited about, that particular system. I will note that a 21-day dash, a 45-day dash, a 90-day dash, where you concentrate, you can override these habits if you concentrate and you really commit. But unless you're trying to change the habits, as soon as the period is over, you revert back to your normal pattern. So it's a temporary change, and I'm looking for permanent change, lifetime change. I don't want to have to count calories to use the diet. The diet industry has a name for this. It's called yo-yo dieting. You concentrate real hard for whatever the challenge is, and then you go back to your normal pattern and you gain the weight back. And then you try again and gain the weight back. So I'm looking for a permanent change. So why do I call this updating my autopilot? Well, basically, what I think of it as is my ingrained habits were like an autopilot that's only got one destination. And it doesn't matter where I set the dial, where I tell it to go, where I'm excited about going. As soon as I look away, don't concentrate on it, it reverts back to exactly the same destination that it's always had, which is where I am right now. You notice that thought that was niggling in my mind earlier? I am where I am because this is where I wanted to be. It's my autopilot taking me back to the same, its only destination it knows how to do. So, a little background. Part of this, you need to make some statements to yourself to work on changing those habits. So number one for me is take this serious. Jesse Elder, in one of his trainings on a meditation technique called Prime Light, said roughly, as a paraphrase, between 80 to 95% of success depends on our mindset. So why do we spend all our time and money buying training on strategies, tactics, and tools? Good question, huh? Second, our mind thinks pictures, but it saves information based on strong emotion. I already talked about that emotion you would have climbing Mount Everest. But if you're going to think about that car you really want to buy, you really have to put your mind as if you're driving it and feel how proud, how happy, what a sense of achievement, accomplishment, all that, the joy that you would have when you drive that car. You want the mind to think that this is reality, and it will make it happen if it thinks it's already reality. Another one is don't use negatives. The subconscious does not understand negatives. So when you think, I do not want to be broke, your habits building system hears, I want to be broke, because it doesn't understand the word no and not. And since these are often said to ourselves with very strong emotion, they drive us right back to where we don't want to be, broke or overweight or in a bad relationship or whatever it is. So don't think in negatives, think in positives. And by the way, I particularly think that some of the losing weight, telling our body we want to lose weight, doesn't work as well as I want to be thin. Give it a picture of you that's thin, that's running on a beach, that's walking up a mountain, walking up a set of stairs. I want to be thin is a whole different thing from I want to lose weight. Kind of what I've mentioned, but I'll just put it out. The habits are electrical pathways in the mind that have been used so often that it's very, very easy for them to fire again. So when you have a situation, your body will run down the pathways that it's always run down, the wiring, the electrical impulses. That's a habit. We can change the habit by not using the pathways, and new pathways will develop and the old ones will disappear. I saw this recently in myself. I used to be a lifeguard, but I haven't been swimming in like 20 years. And I got in the water and I realized my legs had forgotten how to do the flutter kick. I thought that would be an automatic. I knew how to do the freestyle. My legs just weren't. On the third day, I could almost feel the mind saying, hey, we found all this rusty wiring over here in the corner, and this is kind of what he meant to do. And all of a sudden, my legs remembered how to do that particular kick, and it was natural again. But it was almost funny to watch it happen automatically. Another is have a specific direction. Autopilots do not take instructions like go north. There's no setting for go north. It doesn't take instructions like very vague, I'm rich. Doesn't know what rich means. And it doesn't take things like I want 50K a month. That means I am where I am, and maybe someday I'll actually have 50K a month. So you want to be saying very, very strong, emotional, I am making 50,000 a month. if that was your target, if that's something you really want to see happen in your life. Two more things that I think are important that I've been talking about and alluding to. I think meditation with a purpose is super important. And the one that brought it out to me was the Breaking the Habits of Being Yourself, and the hypnotherapist and Jesse. I used an app called Headspace for months. It taught me how to calm my thoughts, get rid of errant thoughts that came in when I was meditating. But it was frustrating to me because it wasn't taking me anywhere. The meditations that Dr. Dispenza talks about, or Jesse Elder talks about, take you someplace. So that's meditation with a purpose. And I think it's a very useful technique for changing your life. And the second thing that not everybody believes, but I do think the quantum field theories explain a lot. So, how do I upgrade my mindset, my autopilot? There are 3 methods I will mention. The first one I talked about, the Breaking the Habit, Being Yourself meditation, where you list your bad habits. You meditate and think about each one so you'll recognize it when it happens. You think about the situation where those thoughts sneak up on you, and you actually say the word change. Get rid of that habit. And then you follow through in your day-to-day life, and when you feel that thought creeping up on you, you say change, and you don't do it. And again, the journey to thin.com has a list of my habits that I did for eating. A second one, Stephen Guise has a book called Many Habits, and he has several books. The one I was reading at the moment, Many Habits for Weight Loss. What he suggests is committing to very, very, very small habits, like I will do 1 push-up a day. Now what happens is once you've done the 1 push-up, on most days it's pretty easy to say, well, as long as I'm here, let's do some more. And pretty soon you've got the habit of doing push-ups every day. And he will do very small, like he's written several books on I commit to writing 50 words a day. I commit to writing in my journal the date for today. These little habits will lead you to bigger habits pretty much automatically. And the third one, there's an article by James Clear, The 3 Steps to Habit Change. What he likes to do is use life experiences as triggers. You commit to doing something when the trigger happens. For example, when you brush your teeth, you commit to doing a 1-minute meditation on what a great day it's going to be. Or when the light, that's something that you do personally. Then there are things that happen to you, like the light turns red at a stoplight, and you commit to thinking about your new project in a very positive way, or whatever it is. But you're using these triggers to bring on new habits. So those are 3 methods. Now, I'm busy rewiring my mind to accept a brand new and improved autopilot that will take me to new places rather than just the one where I'm already at. If you're considering, why am I not succeeding? I suggest you take a look at the same. There is a longer version of this at halepringle.com/autopilot. Again, I'm not trying to sell you anything there. I'm just saying I wrote it out. So, are you having a great day? I hope so, because I sure am. Oh, hail yes. Bye now.